Broadcasting, the boisterous part of the fastest game in the world. So strap on your lids and lace them up, Rook. You're listening to the BarnChirpers Hockey Podcast. Take a lap! Clap it up, boys. Clap it up. What an action-packed week in the NHL. Hulkster, we got too much to talk about. We need to get into this.
Yeah, we got entirely too much to talk about. So
give it to me.
Let's start with the awards. Let's bring up the nice little graphic here. Thank you to NHL.com for providing these awesome Nashville graphics. Your boy Connor McDavid cleaned up, man. Like
that was a given.
Yeah, what 3 awards, but the Hart Memorial Trophy goes to Connor McDavid. Surprised?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, I'm really not surprised, honestly. I mean, he is the best all-around player in the NHL currently.
Yeah.
So no surprise there. And, again, much like Ovi when he was cleaning up the awards all those years, but never winning the cup, it makes it a lot more sweeter if you win the cup.
Yeah.
Because if you're the MVP, then all right, why aren't you winning the cup? So
why aren't you doing something?
Yeah, but no, I'm not surprised at all that he cleaned up. I mean, yeah, he's an amazing player. So yeah, I'm glad they didn't go with Matthews. So
yes, agreed. There's something about McDavid that I like, and part of me wants it to happen for him, but like at the same time, like there's also that part that's like, you know what? I kind of hope it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, he has no personality at all. He's a robot. Yeah. But I mean, he's an amazing player. So,
I've got a lot of these. Vezina, there's pretty much no shocker here. Linus Ullmark is your Vezina Trophy winner.
Again, not a shocker. Obviously, he was the best goaltender in the league. I'm just a little sour on it because being the best goaltender in the league, and you literally lost the first round.
Yeah.
Because you made a bonehead play, which we already talked about. But again, that's in playoffs. Regular season is totally different. So yeah, I mean, there was no doubt that he was going to win it. No doubt at
all. The Mark Messier NHL Leadership Award goes to Stammer.
I didn't even know this was an award this year. Honestly, I'm not sure what the history of that is. So I don't really have a take on it. But I mean, Stammer's a great captain. I know that.
It's hard because I have complicated feelings with the Tampa Bay Lightning
naturally,
but at the same time, Stammer's one of those guys. It's like you want to like him. Like if he was on any other team, I'd probably be like, yeah, I like this guy. But
for sure,
the TBL makes me go,
I will say that I do. Again, I don't know the history of this award, but I do think so. Like Mark Messier NHL Leadership Award. Obviously, Mess was a guy in our generation, like our generation of watching and growing up watching hockey.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's another conversation there to like update the names of the awards, to make it more current. But that's a whole other conversation. But I like this the name of the award, right? Mark Messier Leadership Award. So let's make it a little bit more 80s until today. Get some names in there, but whole other conversation. Moving on.
Yep. James Norris Memorial Trophy is Erik Karlsson.
I mean, go for it. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, it's hard to deny, right? Just because he's over on San Jose and now he's bitching about wanting out. Like, you signed the contract, bro. Like, years ago?
Yeah. When was that? 2018.
Okay, so
2018 he came over to San Jose.
It's been 5 years then. But like, he signed the monstrous deal and like now he's bitching he wants to win. It's like, okay, bro. Like you're in San Jose. Like I feel like there's better ways to go about this. So
yeah, I mean, again, of course, he had the most points of any defenseman this year with 101. Yeah. Here's the thing, dash 26 for the year. So he literally played no defense.
Yeah.
So, there is the whole thing about Brett Burns leaving to Carolina gave him the opportunity to be more offensive. Yeah, true. But the talk is like, should the Norris Trophy winner be a -26? And I would say probably not. That's not very, it's a defenseman's award.
Right.
So I feel like the conversation really needs to go to more should be 2 trophies, the most defensive defenseman and the best offensive defenseman, because looking at his stats, 101 points, but -26, like, is that the best defenseman? That's a whole other conversation.
That's a guy putting points on the board for
points on the board, which is, that's great. But you're also, how many goals are getting scored on you? At least 26.
Yeah. So. No, I guess some of that has to be credited to just being on a bad team. Like he's the best player on a bad team, but still,
for sure,
you're supposed to be a great defender. So, let's see, the Selke Trophy. Not familiar with, but Bergeron wins that. So
that's just like sportsmanship, and Berge always wins.
Oh, okay.
I think there's a little bit of like leadership in there, but sportsmanship. Like he's a gamer. Like that's you know what I mean. He doesn't take very many penalties. Doesn't scrap. Just plays the game. So that's what that trophy's about. I
hate giving credit to bees, but like, Martian's the only one I'm not going to. So moving on. Kyle Trophy, Matty Beniers, Rookie of the Year. You gotta love it, man. I love it for many reasons. Number 1, Kraken. Number 2, right kid. Like,
right kid.
What a treat it was to watch Matty Beniers play hockey this year.
No, I mean, and he's he's only going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
He's only going to get better, which is the best thing about that is he's only going to get better. And he had a pretty solid first season. So, and really so the other finalists were Stuart Skinner and Owen Power. And I feel like it was really only Beniers or Power, because I don't really feel like Stu really had enough. What am I trying to say? Really had enough. I'm losing train of thought. He didn't really have a lot of enough exposure to truly you know what I mean? Like, it was just because he was a rookie, I feel, that they put him in as a finalist. He made it as a finalist, but did he sample size? Did he really have a big enough sample size to be Rookie of the Year? Because as a goaltender, that's a really tough. Yeah, that's really tough to win the Calder when you're a goaltender. Like, you have to be pretty lights out to win.
And I mean, there was points in Stu's season where he did that.
Sure.
But again, he's playing behind Edmonton, who basically had no defense in front of him, and all he had to do was get out from behind Soup. So,
that's it, and he did that. So at least there's that.
So Matty Beniers, Rookie of the Year, not really a shocker, but you love to see it. That's definitely I love to see that for the Kraken and for Matty. The Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy winner is Chris Letang from Pittsburgh.
Pause real quick.
Sure.
I do want to jump back real quick. The only goaltender that has won the Calder that I recognize as a goalie is Evgeny Nabokov from San Jose Sharks in 2001.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it doesn't happen very often.
No.
Anyway, moving on.
Masterson, Chris Letang. Here's Connor Bedard already winning awards.
Look at that.
The E.J. Maguire Award of Excellence before he's even laced them up on an NHL rink.
I mean, he's a generational player. So
Yep. Again, you hate to see it because, and we'll talk more about this later, but it's now official. He's with the Gross. The Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, Anze Kopitar. So I don't know what the Lady Byng is, but
as hockey fans, we should know this, but there's just so many, there's so many awards.
I looked up the history on this recently, and I just don't remember.
So player adjudged to have exhibited the best type of sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct combined with a high standard of playing ability.
Okay. Well, good for you, Kopitar.
Yep.
King Clancy Memorial Trophy, Michael Backlund, the backup center in Calgary. At least some bright spot for Calgary's season, I guess. here we go. Jack Adams Award winner. Again, no shocker. Jim Montgomery, Boston Bruins.
Yeah, no shocker. Best regular season team ever. So, yeah. Actually, jumping back to the Selke, forward who demonstrates the most skill in the defensive component of the game. That's what the Selke is for.
Well, so look, if you
I had them mixed up.
But if you can have that best defensive-minded offensive player, why can't you have best defensive-minded defensive player?
For sure. It's exactly why I brought that up. So
come on. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Jack Adams. And then Jim Gregory, General Manager of the Year, goes to Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars, which I don't want to say like shocker, but like, what about FitzGod?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's kind of out of left field a little bit. I would have honestly, even though the team ended up choking, I think Dubas could have been a finalist for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Also, I feel missing his name right now. Florida Panthers GM could have been a finalist as well for having that team turn around.
Yeah. Vegas made a couple key moves.
Vegas could have easily
and then won the cup.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know who judges these things, but
more on this later. But the fact that it wasn't Fitzgerald it should have been my guy, FitzGod. More on that later. And that's the bulk of the awards. There were some other things, but
the big ones are Rookie of the Year, MVP. All those things. So
yeah. I mean, look, man, it's been a busy week because
super busy.
The trades and signings have been nonstop, friend.
Well, so tomorrow, this is probably coming out on the day of, but Friday at 5 p.m., the door closes on the ability to buy out any contracts. Closes at 5 p.m. on Friday. So that's like this first one that we're going to talk about being Winnipeg. Like Winnipeg has got a lot of things that they got to figure out if they're going to buy out like Scheifele, if they're going to buy out Wheeler, or what they're going to do. So that window closes at 5 p.m. on Friday, and then free agency opens Saturday at 12 p.m. So there's going to be a whole lot more by next week when we talk of trades and signings and all that. So it's the heart of the offseason now. The draft is done. So this is the high point. I'm really looking forward to it.
It's been exciting. Like, yes, my guys have been involved in it, but like, it's just been exciting seeing some of the moves already. And, we're going to start here because you just brought up Winnipeg. PLD, like, we knew it was coming, but did we see LA as his landing spot?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that he wanted to go to Montreal because he's a Montreal guy. So yeah, for it to end up being LA, when I saw that, I was like, damn, okay. But I think we talked about this in the group chat. I'm curious to see, but I don't necessarily think that this singular move makes the LA Kings better to the point where they could beat the Edmonton Oilers in 6 or less games in the playoffs.
Right.
Because they're losing Alex Iafallo to Winnipeg. We didn't say the trade is LA Kings receive PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and they send over to Winnipeg Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, Rasmus Kupari, and a second-round pick. So it's a big haul for PLD.
Yeah, that is a haul.
I think with Vilardi and Iafallo, they weren't necessarily these superstars on the LA Kings. Same thing, Kupari, I don't know much about him, but Iafallo and Vilardi had pretty solid hands throughout the season and the playoffs with helping LA, move along. Again, they're not like superstars by any means, but just getting Pierre-Luc Dubois, to me, the Kings aren't better with this singular move. They might be worse, honestly.
Yeah, and we'll get on to because they're not done. They're not. Got another move here, a couple from now, but it's a splash for sure. Like, does he fit there? I guess we'll see. But I feel like they gave up a lot to get. If you're giving up this much, then you think he's the piece missing, And to your point, that's not true. I don't think that's true even remotely.
I don't think so either, because then they signed him to an 8-year, $8.8 million contract. So worth almost a little over $60 million for 8 years for a guy that his highest point total in a year is 34. Or excuse me, is 63 points is the most points he's scored in his career. So, and that's since he was drafted in 2017 by Columbus. He's only played 2 full seasons.
That's wild. That's crazy.
The most goals he's scored in his career in a single year is 28 in 21-22. And again, the most points he's achieved is this past season with 63. So you're paying a guy $8.8 million a year to be a third line guy production. 63 points. That's crazy to me. Like, so now that's what $8.8 million is worth, 63 points. Dude, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. They're really taking a shot that he's going to be something. And you know what? I hope he is, but I'm leaning towards he's not.
Yeah, he's not going to be that, and
like you have to score 100 points next season.
Yeah,
for $8.8 million. You have to score 100 points.
So LA, I'm not overly familiar with the way Winnipeg plays, but I feel like they're like scrappy go get 'em goals. Whereas LA is kind of like more open, like fast pace. So look, man, I'm not going to get into that because we're just going to have to wait and see. But to your point, to me, LA loses this trade.
Yeah, I think this is a bad trade. Right now on paper, bad trade.
Oops, I didn't mean to go for too many. Nashville getting mixed in. Yeah, man. So when we went out to the roadie, my son wanted a hockey sweater, so I got him a Johansson one. He picked it out. He said, "I like 92. I like this guy. Let me get that." And so he now has a sweater of a guy also no longer with the squad because now
Did you break it to him?
I sort of. I don't know if he like really paid attention to what I said, but
gotcha.
He's in Colorado now. Straight up trade with Colorado and Nashville. I mean, player for player is always nice because it at least seems even, but this.
Right. I mean, Colorado, in my view, definitely won this trade because Ryan Johansson is a proven goal scorer, a proven guy that can get the job done. You could really slot him in anywhere, 1, 2, or 3 in the depth chart. Like he can be a first line center. He could be a depth center. Like he can kind of do it all, honestly. And Alex Galchenyuk is like a perennial AHL player. He scores a lot in the AHL, but he's gotten a shot many times with many teams in the NHL, and he just hasn't worked out. Mm-hmm. So Colorado won this trade. I think it's a good trade for Colorado biggest thing with Colorado was depth, and with Gabe going to be out for another year.
Yeah.
Like they need to have guys that can score. So with that said, I don't necessarily think that Nashville loses this trade because we know that they are retooling, not rebranding, but they're rebuilding. So maybe Alex Galchenyuk does fit into that system. Maybe he does do what he can do in the AHL with that Nashville squad. So I don't necessarily think there's a winner or a loser in this one. I think I'm going to say Nashville is like neutral with this, but Colorado definitely it's a good trade.
Yeah, just to hammer your point home, it's a good trade for Colorado, and I 1,000% agree. It is not a bad trade for Nashville. He probably has a better chance of seeing ice time with a team that's like now going to be trying to figure itself out going forward.
Yeah, I agree.
We said LA wasn't done, and Sean Durzi off to Arizona for a draft pick, second rounder. Second rounder,
yeah. Arizona of all places, yeah.
Weird.
Interesting. Especially, second, third round picks don't ever really pan out to be NHL players, generally speaking. But, if they ended up either, that's kind of like trading tools, you know what I mean? Like second round picks get tossed back and forth all the time. So there's that. I feel like, obviously they did this first to free up some cap space for that PLD trade.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is a good trade for Arizona. I mean, they actually get a veteran defenseman.
Yeah.
That, we have no idea what the state of the Arizona Coyotes is going to be in the next couple of years.
Right.
That's a whole other conversation. But, with losing, they shipped off Gostisbehere last year. So is Dursey the same caliber as Ghost? I don't think so, but at least you got a guy on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything to add here. I think
fair. That's fair.
I think technically Arizona wins this trade just because they're getting a player as opposed to losing a pick. But, there's especially a second rounder, like you said, doesn't typically pan out. So it's not like technically like Arizona needs players and they need NHL ready players. So
they also shipped off Jacob Chikrin to Ottawa too. So they lost two.
That's right.
They lost two guys on their back end. So
that's right. I forgot all about that at the deadline. Let's see. We also have, dang it, back. The Blackhawks making a deal with the Isles.
Well, I love future considerations.
Don't you?
Because that really means nothing.
Uh-huh.
There was talks because the Islanders, with Josh Bailey's cap hit, which I don't remember exactly what it is, somewhere around like the 4 or 5 mark. So they were either trying to trade him, which they did obviously, or there was talk about him getting bought out too. So they made the trade. And they got some future considerations. Yay! Whatever that means. And we're going to see it here throughout the line. And we know how gross it is, the Chicago Blackhawks. But we're kind of skipping ahead. We know that they drafted number 1. They got Connor Bedard, the generational player. Yep. Guys are going to want to go to Chicago to play with this kid.
Yep.
So I think this is like a writing on the wall. I mean, Josh Bailey is a solid defenseman. So like there's one, check the box.
Yep. More on this in a few moments. This one just came in today. Look at this. Chicago and Tampa making a deal.
Tampa Bay, or Corey Perry was part of that Tampa Bay dynasty. So he played a huge part in that. He missed out on the first one, but he was a part of the second one. And then he, was obviously part of it when they lost the third. But he does a lot of the gritty things. Goes to get pucks. He'll fight. He'll make hits. He's a solid player. And again, what I just said, guys are going to want to go to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So whether he voiced that or Tampa Bay just happened to in talks with Chicago and they were the right one, right? But for a 7th round pick,
right? Come on, man.
Talking about guys that aren't going to be NHL players. There's one 7th round pick.
Ugh.
But I mean, Corey Perry he was drafted in the first round in 2003 for Anaheim, 28th pick overall. So he's he was a first round player to get drafted. Yeah. And he's consistently been, not necessarily on the top of score sheets, but he's always getting it done, always doing something. So it's a solid pickup for, as much as I hate to say a solid pickup for Chicago, it's a solid pickup for Chicago.
Yeah. And I mean, they're all going to be because gross. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the Avalanche getting back involved with the Habs. The Habs picking up Alex Newhook. I can't. It's too small for me to read.
You're sorry. Good. Yeah. So Colorado sends the Montreal Canadiens Alex Newhook, in Colorado receives Gianni Faba brother and a 31st overall pick from this draft and 37. So they got 2 picks in this year's draft. So we'll see later on in the show who those picks were. But Colorado kind of cleaned up with this.
Yeah.
And Alex Newhook was a guy that was thrown into the lineup during Colorado was way injured this past year. And then also he, was playing on the team in the playoff run when they lost to the Kraken, Sucka. But I mean, he's a solid depth guy. So, I mean, the Habs need to retool just like a lot of other teams. So I don't know much else about Alex Newhook other than he's like a depth center. So,
it's a nice pickup, but it's crazy that he was worth 2 picks. Like
that's interesting. Oh, we didn't say good or bad for the last couple. So, I mean, Chicago getting Corey Perry, that's a good trade.
Yeah.
Chicago getting Josh Bailey, that's a good trade. So, I mean, Arizona getting Sean Durzi is a good trade.
Yeah, we did those ones. Yeah. All right. And then this is the ultimate gross. That was literally my response when you sent this one to me.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno are leaving Boston and headed up to Chicago.
They do have to get signed. So, actually, they might have term left. They might have a year left from their contracts. I'm not sure on that. But, I mean, again, this is a good trade for Chicago.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a good trade for Boston because they're getting that cap hit off the books.
Right. Yeah.
And essentially that is with the ideal in a perfect world to sign Tyler Bertuzzi to a long term. And, Tyler Bertuzzi is a younger kid. Yeah. Taylor Hall, he's a great player. Nick Foligno, he's a good depth guy. But they'd rather have Tyler Bertuzzi than those 2 guys.
Yeah.
And they can retool, the other spots. I don't know anything about the guys that they got. I'm assuming they're just prospects, but those guys can turn into something later on. So I think it's a good trade for both teams.
I agree, but I still think Chicago won.
Chicago definitely won 100%. Chicago is winning draft day, draft week, off season so far. So
let's see. This is another one I didn't get to read up on. Oh, it's another future considerations.
Edmonton gets future considerations. Detroit gets Kyler Yamamoto and Klim Kostin. Solid gets by Detroit, honestly. Agreed. Detroit wins this one.
Absolutely. 1,000.
Because we don't know what future considerations are.
Yeah. So, I guess when you put it that way, we don't know technically. But the fact that Detroit's going to get NHL-ready players on that young squad that I feel like is only a couple pieces away from making that push.
For sure.
I agree with you. Detroit wins this one. Then we got Ross Colton going to Colorado and Tampa trading. For what round is that?
That was first round.
First round.
37th overall.
Well, here we go.
So essentially, Colorado got that 37th overall from Montreal, and they flipped it, and they got Ross Colton and sent the 37th overall back over to Tampa Bay.
Well, there you go.
And Ross Colton, again, he was part of the dynasty of Tampa Bay, so solid player. Colorado wins that. They're getting a guy that's been in high pressure situations for the last 3 years, and they're only losing a draft pick.
Yeah, a draft pick that technically wasn't even theirs. So
wasn't even theirs anyway. So
that's a big win for Colorado.
That's a big win.
Now we got Riley Smith heading over to the Pens for a 2024 third round pick. This is a solid pickup for the Pens, I feel.
That's a good trade for the Pens. I mean, they got a lot of older guys on that squad. They need to get a little younger. Riley Smith just won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
He's still pretty young. This is a good trade for them. And again, Vegas gets a third round pick. Is Vegas still have the ability to contend again next year? I would say yes, considering they've contended every single year they've been in existence.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about them losing Riley Smith. I mean, that's probably just because we'll get to it with signings. Like this was like to get rid of his cap hit so they could make the big signing that they did. So good trade though.
Good trade. We still got more. Hollywood Kevin Hayes is going to St. Louis for a 2024 sixth rounder.
Might as well be future considerations. Which too bad Corey's not here to
I know.
Talk about his boy Kevin Hayes. But I mean, he wasn't getting along well with Torts, right?
Right.
So I think a change of scenery is good for him. If only like Philly would have done something in at the trade deadline, they probably could have got a better haul for him,
right?
Than just one single next round, sixth round pick.
Yeah, I feel like like to hammer your point home, they deal him at the deadline. Maybe they get him and a player back, like a young,
or a prospect at least.
Or prospect, yeah, like something. I mean, ultimately, if you're Philly, you want picks. You want all the picks you can get. So I don't think they lost this deal, but St. Louis definitely won the deal, if that makes sense. So a lot of that going on.
100%.
So here we go. Mackenzie Blackwood dealt over to the San Jose Sharks for a sixth rounder. Now look, we've been clowning sixth rounders. I do want to say this: Jesper Bratt, sixth rounder, just signed a major deal with the New Jersey Devils last week. So it is possible.
It's just when I say that, it's just unlikely.
It is highly improbable.
Everybody after first round, it's the percentage that they're actually going to make the NHL and do anything is very slim. Like it doesn't happen very often. Unlike other sports like basketball, or more specifically like football, all the time late draft picks end up turning into superstars.
Yeah, Tom Brady was a sixth rounder.
So. Yeah, exactly. So not so much in hockey for whatever reason that is, but. I think this is a solid trade for San Jose. They need a goaltender.
Yeah, so. This is another win-win trade. Because it on paper maybe it seems like the Devs got hosed because we gave up a player for a sixth rounder, but
I don't think so though, because I know what you're saying. Sorry to cut you off, but before I forget, because of my mind, but they're getting Mackenzie Blackwood's cap hit off so that they had that free money to make the things that they did. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
But that's my point. Yeah, we're moving the cap hit. We're moving the cap hit on a guy that wasn't going to play. Schmid's the guy. Like there's no doubt about that. Schmid's the guy. Vaney is 1A until Schmid is ready to be one. And then we have Dawes in the pipeline, who is a solid player. So there's no room for Blackwood. Poor kid couldn't get it on the ice. So I like this. I like this for him. I like this for San Jose. Like plus it puts Reimer, whatever. Maybe
Reimer's a POS anyway. He's old. He's 47. Like he's on his way out. Like
get him out of there.
So they got Blackwood as the young guy, and then they got Kokkonen, who was their number one, who came from Minnesota. Yeah. So they got two solid tenders in San Jose. I mean, is San Jose going to do anything?
Probably not. Probably not. But you got a couple pieces now. I mean, look, man, if Blackwood can stay on the ice, you might have a guy there. Like he could have been our guy. He just couldn't stay on the ice. So maybe this is what he needed, is to go elsewhere.
Same thing, change of scenery. Also, who wouldn't want to live in SoCal?
I know, right?
I guess technically San Jose isn't really SoCal, but California.
Yeah, it's mid-Cal, I guess.
It doesn't snow.
Yes.
In San Jose.
The Devils, my friend, weren't done.
No, they were not.
This might have been the trade of trades.
This is massive trade that the Devils made. Getting Tyler Toffoli and only sending over Igor Sharangovich and a third-round pick of this year's draft.
This is what I'm saying. Like this, look, my guy Fitz needs to be in the conversation next year for GM of the year because he's silently over there just making. We dealt off Sivo, a guy who's going to walk, and we got a 6th rounder for him. Yep. We're letting Blackwood go, dumping the hit, getting a 6th rounder back. That's a guy that wasn't going to play. Like it wasn't going to happen. And now we dealt off Sharangovich. Love the guy. Wish we could have kept him, but he was a man without a place. Like this guy was not going to see the ice. Like there was no room for him. We had already seen it, towards the end of the season. Like he wasn't getting on ice. So this is a guy that was just going to sit around. He gets a new change of scenery. And goes with a draft pick. We get a guy who gets to hop in on our 1st or 2nd line like immediately.
Yeah, and a Stanley Cup champion at that. So it's only adding more veteran presence and a guy that knows how to win to a young team that, as we know and talked about, they didn't know how to win yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this playoff. So adding Tyler Toffoli is massive.
And
good trade.
He can slot in on 1st or 2nd line for us. Like I could see him skating alongside Hischier. I could see him skating along Jack. Like both of those are really exciting to me.
And this is a good trade, honestly, for Calgary too, because Toffoli was just going to walk also. So They actually got something for him, which is what they needed to do. He's an asset, so they got assets back.
Yeah. So this is a win-win. I think like in the short term we win because like you said we get a guy who knows how to win that we sorely needed. And Calgary gets a solid player who can slot in 3rd, 4th line easily. And God forbid injuries, but like he could be a 2nd liner. Like he could play up on the 2nd line depending on how Calgary plays. But like he can play center or he can play wing. Like you got a guy who can scrap. Like I like the way Sharangovich plays. I really do. And like I said, it sucks to see him go, but when you see a guy like this go, like I just want to see him get a chance, and he's gonna in Calgary.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, he's gonna do hopefully wonderful things with maybe he'll be the answer to get Huberdeau back to scoring 100 points.
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe, not likely, but maybe. And so now we're getting into the signings. Foligno,
$4 million.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be gross. Calgary clearly happy with picking up Sharangovich. 2 years, 3.1.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully, I think that. Again, I don't know their cap hit because I'm not looking at cap friendly, but 2 years is a pretty good deal initially right off the bat because, that's extended. So does he have some term left from his Devils contract then?
Yeah, I don't recall what it was, but I know we didn't retain any of it. I do remember seeing that we didn't retain any of it.
So he's actually probably around for at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So
it might be perfect timing for Calgary to figure things out.
Here's hoping. We also had Eric Halla.
Your boy, I mean, this is massive too, honestly.
Yeah, dude.
This guy showed up, as we talked about in the playoffs, one of the only guys that showed up in the playoffs consistently for you. Again, keeping another guy. Eric Halla has been on so many teams in his NHL career, and he produces everywhere that he goes.
Yeah.
So this is a solid get for anybody, but in this case, because the Devs are your boys, love to see this because, again, he's a guy, the young guys know him, right? They played together all season, so they have that chemistry. Now he's sticking around for another 3 years, which could be one of the biggest catalysts to them potentially winning a cup or at least contending for a cup.
Absolutely. Is this guy like a linchpin to our chances? No, probably not. But
a solid piece.
But he's a solid piece, and he's a depth guy. He's a guy that has shown up. It's nice to see the team recognize that this guy played hard and deserved to get extended. So I love to see it. This is another guy I loved watching play. Like he was like one of the few in both series in the playoffs that did not fade. Even the games where we're getting stomped, There's Eric Hall out there doing something.
I want to make one comparison here from what we talked about earlier when we got to this part of the show. Pierre-Luc Dubois, as I said, his most points that he scored in a season was 63, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Eric Halla has also, well, Eric Halla hasn't actually played a full season. Let me double check that. Yeah, he hasn't played a full season either. Well, he did in the shortened season in 2020.
Right.
But that point being, we look at Pierre-Luc Dubois as a superstar, right? First line guy, right? Only scoring 63 points in his highest career. Eric Halla, in his highest point total career, has scored 55 in 76 games.
Well, look at that.
A guy that's a depth guy.
Yeah.
He's not the first line guy. He's not the superstar. He's a depth guy, and he's putting 55 on the board.
And yeah.
And you're telling me for 8 more points, this could have been an $8.8 million contract? Is that what you're telling me?
That's just crazy, man.
That's the comparison that I'm making here. Like, this is the money Pierre-Luc Dubois should be making.
Yeah.
Until he can prove himself.
Right. And
3 years, 3.115. I was actually thinking when I first saw that, so we're going way off the rails, going back to PLD, but I just thought about this. When I saw that trade, I was like, nah, man, that's like 3, maybe 4 years, 2.75 to me until you prove it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to prove it. You don't just get $8 million and do nothing. You know, anyway, that's all.
Well, and again, like the haul for it, like that's just crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a great signing by the Devs. They won
for sure. Yeah,
good signing.
Let's see. Connor Ingram re-signs 3 years, 1.95 in Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the other guy, Kramail for shit. I don't know exactly how to say his name.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was a solid, like, on an Arizona team, he was a solid tender. Like, I picked him up in fantasy a couple times. Kirill Vejmelka.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
that guy.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, okay, 50 games played this past season, 18, 24, and 6. He plays for Arizona, though.
Yeah.
You know, like a 3.43 GAA and a 900 save percentage is not terrible.
No, man.
It's not terrible.
No.
It's not terrible.
Kept them in games that they shouldn't have been, considering Arizona.
Yeah. So it's a good signing by Arizona.
Here we go.
This is a terrible signing.
Yeah. And I'll put all the like personal reasons aside. 4 years, 2.9 for Jordan Staal.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, I don't. No, I just. You could have, if you want to. I get it. Listen, and this is one of the reasons why I don't comment on social media because, like. But I had put this. This was on on Sportsnet's social media. Excuse me. And I said, this is terrible. They could have used that, 16 or whatever $1 million over those 4 years to sign a guy that's a proven goal scorer, which is what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the comments that I kept getting was, no, he does all the little things. That's what they need. Like, yeah, I get that. You need guys that do the little things. Jordan Staal is old.
Yeah.
Even though he's 34, like that's really actually considered young, but he's old. He's slowed down. Like his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, he's scored less than 40 points. Less than 40 points. Like, what? You're not doing anything for the team, are you really? I don't think so.
I feel like this is a reward for rocking the sea, like being leadership, being a guy that the guys like.
And I get that. Like, you need that. You need that in the room for sure. But I'm not even saying not to re-sign him. I'm saying you could have saved some of that money. You could have paid him $1 million a year.
Yeah.
and save that extra money to go get guys that can put goals in the net.
And if he's the guy that all these guys thinks he is, then he takes that pay cut, doesn't he?
You would think so. A team friendly deal to go, hey, man, we lost Patches. We lost Svetch. You know what would be really great? A goal scorer.
Yeah.
You know what would be really great? Maybe 2 goal scorers. Maybe a goal scorer and a playmaker. That'd be great. Because, you know, speaking of other guys like Aho didn't show up in the playoffs. Yeah. He's supposed to be the playmaker. He didn't show up. So, yeah, I think this is a bad signing by Carolina. Again, I know what I said, that he's old. He is kind of old. And in the NHL is kind of old now these days. Yeah, I get that you need the guys that do the little things. That's part of the game. I get that you need a proven captain, a guy that the guys look up to, that is a good leader. I get all that. But for 2.9 a year, you could have saved that money and ended up signing literally anybody else. So
yeah.
You could have done $1 million contract.
Yeah. Gotten somebody else.
So yeah, it's almost a $12 million contract. Like with that money, instead, so you could have got him to a overall $4 million contract, and you had $8 more million to spend then.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me, but I'm not a GM in the NHL. I get it. Chirp us at BarnChirpers Pod. Tell me if I'm an idiot.
Let's see. Dadonov resigns or is extended in Dallas, 2 years, $2.25 million.
I think it's a pretty good deal for Dallas. I think that's good. I mean, he's a solid player. So the guy that nobody wanted.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, Vegas tried to trade him to Montreal. And then it went through, and then all of a sudden, I don't even remember what the controversy was, but it was like, nope, you can't do that. And then he went back to Vegas, and they're like, we're going to put you on waivers.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
It was something like that. It was such a back and forth thing. Like they tried to trade, it didn't actually happen. So then he went back to Vegas, and then they put him on waivers or something. And anyway, this is a good deal for Dallas, though. Like he's a solid player.
Re-signed in Toronto, David Kampf, 4 years, 2.5.
I think that's a pretty solid deal. I mean, he's a younger guy, and Toronto needs guys that can actually show up.
Yeah.
And I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like I remember hearing his name a couple of times in the playoffs. So I think that's a good signing. Yeah, I mean, that's a good team-friendly deal, I think, 2.5. That's
yeah, solid. For sure.
Center. So,
and then we got, this is a great signing for Vegas.
5 years, $5 million. Like, dude,
talk about guys taking team friendly.
That's definitely a team friendly deal, because my man was probably the best trade in the trade deadline this year. Because he showed up. He was a guy that showed up when they needed it. And look at him. I mean, Stanley Cup champion now again. Yeah. And yeah, he could easily have gotten $8 million. Speaking of guys that deserve more money, he could have easily got $8 million.
Yeah, he gets extended obviously because he got traded over from St. Louis at the deadline. Right. But to your point, like this dude showed up. They win a cup, and then he's like, you know what, I want to stay. This is a guy I could see. They just dealt off Riley Smith. He's got one of the A's. I could see a letter going on Barbashev's sweater next year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 18 points in the playoffs. Yeah. So I could easily see him taking the A. Yeah.
And then here's
boy.
Look, man, I know this is a lot. I know this is a lot of money. Timo Meier gets extended in New Jersey, 8 years, $8.8 million per. I do wish it would have been a little bit more team friendly. I'm not going to lie. We lock up a guy. We're locking up upside here, I feel like.
Yeah, the no doubt that potential is there. There's so much potential in this. And we've talked about this on the show before. Like it is a big change, not only to be traded to another team mid-season, but also you're moving from the West Coast to the East Coast too.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot going on there, and then trying to learn the team system and fit in and all that. Like, so it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Plus, he was hurt when he came over, so like he didn't see the ice for like I think it was like a week and some change, maybe.
Right. I mean, he ended up getting 21 games played with the Devils with 14 points, so close to a point per game, pretty close.
Right.
So I mean, I think you're banking on the upside, and I mean, I do think he's a guy that does have an upside, and I just honestly hope for the Devs team, for you truly, that he does live up to the money.
I will say this, like I was reading earlier that the Sharks offered him almost 10 a year to keep him there before the deadline. So in that regard, it's technically team friendly. But I do wish it could have been, like in the $7 million range, just because, if he goes lights out in the playoffs, then I'm all for this contract because he's worth every penny already. Sure. Now I do have a hard time getting around. We're paying this much money on the fact that on paper we are one of the best teams in hockey next season.
Yeah, I think you get Meyer and Toffoli paired up too. That could be dynamite.
Yeah.
Again, having a full season and even having the opportunity now to go to a training camp with this team, like for a full season, I think makes a big difference as well. I truly do. I'm looking at his career stats. I mean, the most points that he's had in a year is 76 in 21-22. He hasn't played a full season. Also, he hasn't played a full season. He's been injured. Shortened season. He played the full season 2020.
Well, that sort of counts.
Yeah, it sort of counts. Again, this is upside. So I know it sounds a little hypocritical because I was bashing PLD, and I'm okay with this with Timo Meyer. But again, I think because I'm just looking at his career stats, like he's had sort of a better upward trajectory, if I can speak. We do a podcast at BarnChirpers Pod. He's had more of a trajectory than PLD has over his 7 seasons.
I think also the difference here is picking up Timo in the deadline, and whenever we did pick him up, I was always thinking it was more about next season anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Timo does feel like he could be a very integral missing piece, a piece that we were missing before him coming over. Whereas PLD, what they've given him makes it seem like he's the missing piece, but he absolutely is not. Like they have a lot of things to do yet over there to ice a really quality club.
It's true.
To me, that's the difference between shrugging at 8.8 for Timo and going, why is PLD getting $8 million?
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair statement. I think I'm with that. But overall, good signing by the Devs.
Absolutely, and it's a really exciting time to be a Devils fan. So, not much on my front to talk about. I was only able to find a graphic for the top 10 picks here. Not really many shockers at the NHL draft, other than Carlson going 2. I think most people had Fantilli going 2.
Right. Yeah.
So and we swapped those.
And I guess the Flyers getting Michkov was kind of a surprise, but I guess they were the only ones they were only one of a couple of teams that actually had the opportunity to talk to Michkov. So that's hey, Corey, what do you think?
I know he's geeked, man.
Oh yeah, that's a good take, Corey. Yeah, I mean, and I was chirping him, but it's really he's supposed to be much like Kirill Kaprizov. So
Right.
if that's the case, then they have, dare I say, generational talent on their hands.
Yeah, and I think the only
in 3 seasons when he actually starts his ELC, that's going to be massive.
Yeah, which means they, and it's one of those things where it's like, these top 10 players you expect to see like relatively soon, but like in this case, I'm glad he's not, for Corey, for the Flyers organization, I'm glad it's going to be 3 years because they have 3 years to, put something in place where he can be the piece that they need. He can come in onto the ice and not like have to carry the franchise,
right,
like immediately.
Yeah, let him develop for 3 seasons, and keep him in the KHL and develop and get better, and then bring him over in 3 seasons when you've, had 3 seasons to be terrible and go through the rebuild, and then when you kind of get a few more pieces, then bring him over and bing bang boom. Then you're not wasting a couple of his entry-level contract years still sucking.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Also, like you mentioned, Leo Carlsson going number 2 instead of Adam Fantilli. Columbus is kind of seemingly building something here. Adam Fantilli, another Michigan Wolverine guy, and they have now, I want to say, 5 Michigan Wolverines on Columbus squad.
Wow.
So, I mean, maybe that is a thing because they've played together before, all those guys, or they're from the same school. They have the same mentality. Maybe that's the thing that pushes Columbus to the next level. Honestly, I would love to see it because I've said it before on this show. I would love to see other teams take the spots from teams that we always see in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Boston, Tampa Bay, Toronto.
Yeah.
I would love to see those new squads popping in. I would love to see in the East, like this is going off the rails kind of, but give me in the East, Detroit, Ottawa, Florida,
Buffalo.
Yeah. Buffalo for sure. Obviously, I got to say the Caps. The Devs, give me, got 2 more spots. Give me, you know what? Give me Montreal, honestly. Give me Montreal.
Yeah.
And my last pick, wild card pick, give me Columbus.
Yeah.
I would love to see, if I didn't already say Columbus. I might have said Columbus twice. Either way.
No, you didn't.
Okay, good. But I would love to see that as the 8 in the East. So I'm here for it. I hope Columbus, obviously I don't think they're going to be a playoff contender this year, but from the sounds of it, Fantilli can slot right in this next season.
Yeah. And, again, those top 3 picks, those are the guys you expect to see within a season probably on the ice. Like our guy, Luke Hughes, he didn't come up until the end of the year, but he saw ice this year and he played well. And that's another guy I got to look forward to next season.
And speaking of the Caps, they drafted number 8, Ryan Leonard. Apparently, I don't know anything about him, but apparently what I've heard is he's like a Tom Wilson guy. And no matter what you want to say about Tom Wilson, everybody wants Tom Wilson on their team. Everybody. If Tom Wilson's on your team, you're loving life. If he's not on your team, you hate him. So understandable. But apparently he's another like big, tough guy that can also make plays. So I think that's a good, solid pick for the Caps. And we also got we drafted a goaltender like number 209 or something like that too. So that's also good because we need goaltender help.
Yeah, I was going to say, put him in, get Kemper out of there already.
Jesus Christ. Lord, that's a whole other conversation. But solid draft, though. I mean, So, again, there wasn't I think it was pretty, not uneventful, but usually we see teams moving around, trading up, trading down type thing, and that didn't happen this year.
No.
So I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but I saw this stat, too, before we went live, that the NHL draft was viewed by 660,000 people, which is up from last year, 400-some thousand.
All right. I'm into it.
So that's good.
Good.
Way to go, NHL.
Yeah, way to go, NHL. Good job. Only up from here, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
So next week we're going to talk about this because the schedules got released. So there's, Corey says he's going to be here.
Okay. If he's not, we should look at and maybe plan a roadie.
Yeah,
live on the air.
But
I think definitely because it has to happen. My barn journey has to happen. Talk about that. So regardless if Corey is here next week or not, I will tell everybody about all the barns that I visited this year and give a ranking system. And that'll be the fun conversation next week. And I'm sure we'll have a bunch of signings and trades because, as you said, free agency is going to start on Saturday.
Yep, it ain't over. So
we're just getting warmed up, baby.
Ooh, there we go. We somehow got it all in, man.
Yeah, I mean, here we are an hour later again. But that's okay. There's a lot to talk about. So chirp us at BarnChirpers Pod. If you can like, subscribe, give us a 5-star on wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple iTunes, wherever else. Just give us a 5-star. Say we're awesome, and then you can go backhanded and chirp us at BarnChirpers Pod and say we suck. That's fine. But if you 5-star it, that'd be great. So that way more people who like hockey can talk pucks with us.
That's right.
That would be great. So thanks for listening to us jabber every week for an hour. So Hulkster, you got anything?
No, that's going to do it, man.
All right. Stick taps and sellies, boys. Clap it up.
Clap it up, boys. And then hit the end broadcast button. Boop.